right, hey, welcome. This is the episode number 3 of the Catchlight Show. I'm your host, Bob McClanahan, and again,
sorry, I had to be
Adam is here again because the original guest couldn't make it at the last minute. So Adam graciously decided to come in here and help me out. Otherwise, you would be stuck with me talking, and nobody needs to hear that. So. Anyway, today we are drinking some 2013 Passaggio Unoaked Chardonnay.
Never had unoaked wine before, honestly.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. No, I actually, Sauvignon Blanc is usually never oaked.
But I'm, my wine drinking is not a lot. So.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, Chardonnay is usually fermented in oak barrels,
okay.
And so it imparts a lot of oak flavor. But this is just been done in steel,
okay.
So none of that oak, and so it's got a different, lighter flavor. I love it.
It's nice, tastes great. Yeah.
Yeah. Since we're kind of doing something kind of off the wall here and off the cuff, we're going to be talking a little bit about. Adam has some new toys that he wants to show you guys. But I have some news. I just picked up a new job this morning working for the 2014 Bottle Rock Festival.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it was it's coming. It's in like 2 weeks. Yet they just told me today that they want me to finally shoot for them. After many meetings and everything else, but
I think you had a good audition from last year. They liked your stuff, so
yeah, they did, and they bought a lot of those images from last year, luckily, and so now they're going for this year's festival.
Congratulations!
Yeah, so that's very cool. Good news.
Wow.
Bad news is that my Nikon released a firmware update for their Nikon D800E cameras, which is what I have. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, as I was installing the software, it broke my camera.
How did it break your camera?
I don't know. I mean, it's just
a software update?
It's basically just a software update, but my camera will not turn off, and it won't take any pictures.
Oh, that's you can't work with
that. So, no, a camera is not good if it can't take any pictures.
Pull your cell phone out.
Yeah, that's why it's what I'm having to do. Luckily, I do have a second. I have a backup camera, but it's just kind of disappointing that those things happen.
Yeah, especially about ready to get for a big event.
Yeah, and so that's for a professional photographer, you really need to have a backup. Mm-hmm. If one thing breaks, you got to have a backup because the bride doesn't care if your camera breaks and you don't get the first kiss or the first dance or anything like that. So you better make sure that you have backup gear, and even your backup have backup if necessary. So,
yeah. Wow.
Anyway, some little friendly advice for you there. Another thing that happened, I don't know if it's interesting or not, but so I have these little pocket wizards that will remotely fire my flashes.
Oh, okay.
And the other day, this little plastic thing that kind of covers the antenna came off. I was like, okay, no big deal. And then, literally, the same day, I get notice from the Pocket Wizard people that if this ever happens, never ever use it because it could like burn you. It's
like electrify or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Charge.
So. Anyway, it's just that it was kind of funny because I was continuing to use it, but apparently it's lucky that I did not touch that because I could have been.
Yeah, man, you could have got killed.
Yes, I suppose so. So you brought some new equipment.
Well, it's not really new. It's new to people who are maybe just tuning into the show. I've done news photography for years and years and years, and as a news photographer, you cover death and destruction and slime and grime and whatever, but you're thrown into positions where you have to look out for your safety. And it's fire season right now for a lot of photographers who are doing news. And I brought some of my fire gear with me, and some of the basic stuff they actually require this if you're gonna be shooting fires. this fire season. CAL FIRE requires you, as a photographer, as an accredited photographer, to be able to have this equipment. And this right here is the helmet and the jacket. It's all fireproof, all Nomex. It's stuff to protect you while you're out there, and plus it's protocol. And then you have to wear these big boots right here, and you feel how heavy those things are. So, like, I just wanted to pull these out and show everybody, just because it's fire season. And, you know, if you see a photographer out there, or if you see some video or some still pictures on AP, or, you know, you're watching the news and you're wondering, hey, how'd they get those shots? You know, they're really close to the flames. And, well, if they're close to the flames, they're bound to have this kind of gear. And lugging, like the firefighters do, all that gear that they have anyways. And as a photographer, you're carrying heavy equipment. And it can make for a pretty interesting day, for sure. Yeah, so these are just the fire gear that we have right here. So.
Okay, and then the opposite of the fire gear, you have some water gear.
Well, this is biological warfare material. See, this is one of the reasons why I got out of the news business, because if I had to have so much protection while I'm working every day,
And this is yours personally?
Yeah,
Or the news station did not supply you with this stuff?
No, this is all bought. This is all issued by me. So this is for quick getaway. You put a canister on here. I don't have the canister with me. I'm not going to put it on because I'll mess up my hair. But this is just for if there's smoke or any kind of like tear gas. You know, you'll see some of these SWAT team members wear this stuff. You know, going into a house after they raid it. And then, so if there's something out there in the air or some wet liquid that you are shooting around, you have to put on this stuff. This is, it's overkill, but it's going to save your life if you need to cover a story.
Yeah.
But these are basically, this stuff right here is basically stuff that if something happens and there's stuff falling from the sky like chemicals or whatever, this is just to protect you to get out of there. It's not to sit around and shoot video or shoot pictures. It's just the quick stuff you're going to put on, and you're going to go out the door and get back into safety. But this stuff right here is just for, you know, you're going to be out on an 8-hour day shooting the fire line. You know, you're going to have this stuff. You know, there's so many different, I mean, there's just so much going on out there that, you know, there's so many different things you need to be protected from.
Yeah.
And it's just a couple of them. And
but aren't you glad you're out of this now?
I am.
Where you don't have to worry about literally the safety of your life.
My wife is happy that I'm out of it.
to capture some news footage.
You know,
it just seems like such a.
I still get a thrill every once in a while turning on the scanner. I know this is going to sound kind of morbid, and just listening while there's a fire going on, and just kind of listening to what's going on, because it's in me. I've done it for 22 years, 23 years. And I tell you, though, I am so glad that I'm not doing this full time every day. I mean, I love what I do right now with shooting videography out in the vineyards or doing productions and stuff. But having to put this stuff on just to save your life on a daily basis, if you have to, it can be pretty stressful. And they say that photojournalists, either camera or videography or still photography, it's like the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the world. That's top 10. I mean, that's like amongst like police officers, firefighters. Because, as a news photographer, you're going out there with firefighters, you're going out there with the police officers, you're put in positions where it's like, you're in the middle of everything. I've been in riots. So. And
you have to get the shot.
And
the more dramatic, the better.
Of course. And that whole saying, if it bleeds.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah. Everybody knows that by now. So, but yeah, these are just some of the things, and I thought this would be kind of interesting. Well, it's kind of a sidebar from what you've been talking about the last few shows, and to give people a different perspective of, still photographers and videographers, they have to protect themselves to, if they're doing news, it's like in your situation, you don't really have to wear this stuff.
I wear sunscreen, and that's pretty much the most protection that I wear. Yes.
Yeah. So you won't need the mask. It's fun to put it on. I scared my cat.
I'm sure you will. Yeah. It's good for Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't need anything for Halloween. I just show up.
So, who's kind of like your It's kind of like what's like your dream job?
My dream job has always been to be a photographer, camera guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I was a kid, I watched the news. I was like 9 years old. I was watching the news.
Do you have what would you like to do now? I mean, if you could just go on any assignment or have any client, what would you like to do?
You know, I really love being here where I'm at now. I mean, in Napa, you know, some of my clients are in the wine industry, and I really love helping customers out,
mm-hmm.
like to make their business succeed.
Mm-hmm.
With doing videos or
right.
know, web commercials and stuff. That's where I want to be. I got out of the news business, and I knew I was going to go full blown into my video production company, and it feels good right now. It really does. You know, I like it now. It's kind of where I want to be. How about you?
I would, honestly, I would love to do like a major sporting event, World Series, Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Something like that. The Olympics.
Yeah.
I would love to shoot more sports.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of sports here, so it's hard to kind of get into that whole area.
Yeah.
I'd have to volunteer to shoot, the high schools and hopefully, just keep doing that until you get better, and then you can slowly maybe get up to the college level, and then that sort of thing. No, I just think that would just be the ultimate as far as I'm concerned.
That's a pretty cool thing. There's one thing that I have never really done. What I would like to do is shoot a live concert. I love that. I love that fast pace. Moving around, getting all these cool shots, and I've done multi-camera shoots before, but just the boring kind of well, I wouldn't say boring. Let's not put it that way, but just not fast paced. I want to do something fast paced,
right?
Where you can listen to the director and just get a thrill out of that. Like the director's like, camera one, stand by, you're on, and just go on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, the concert thing, I really enjoyed doing it when the band was really into it, when there was a cool lights and smoke and where it really makes for some dramatic photos. But honestly, a lot of times it's just some very boring musicians strumming away without any emotion or anything else.
So used to being on stage, the whole limelight thing,
they
back in the day where they used to come to the camera and be like, putting the guitar up in their lens and stuff.
Right, they were out having fun, but no, it seems like there's a lot of bands who don't have fun when they're on stage anymore, which just makes for boring shots because having somebody without any emotion on their face playing the guitar that's a boring shot.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, there are some boring musicians out there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So, one thing I was going to ask you. What kind of camera equipment do you use?
I have a Sony product. It's a professional camera. It's not the type that you carry on your shoulder, you'd see like at concerts or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's a handheld. I should have brought it with me. It's an NX5U. And it's a great camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's for its size, as small as it is. I mean, it's like this long and like that wide. I have rigs where I could put it on my shoulder because as a news guy, I'm so used to when I shoot off the shoulder having a camera on my shoulder, and it's like a 30-pound camera. So I do really well with that camera, and also I use DSLRs too to shoot video, which
right. And what do you use to shoot stills?
Since we started doing the action chopper with the aerial cinema, we use the Canon Mark II. So I'm using that to shoot stills if I have to. I'm not shooting a lot of stills, but
that's
camera,
good. I appreciate that.
That camera, the Mark II, it's amazing how these cameras that are meant for still photography are really out there to put really good video on the market too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the Mark II and your camera too.
The 800.
Yeah, the 800. Yeah, does really well.
So we have a question from the internet audience.
Oh hey.
Hi everybody.
Hello.
So this is live, and they're tweeting their questions, they're chatting their questions in over there.
Okay.
And this is about 4K. They have a general question about 4K. What do you think of it, and when is it appropriate to use? Okay.
It's a good question actually. 4K is extremely high resolution. Something that you would watch, at a movie theater. It's going to be for a big screen, as opposed to 1080. or 720 or 320, or it goes down from there. The 4K is definitely something that's going to have really good quality resolution. And typically, you can shoot, if you want to shoot internet videos, if you want to shoot like some web commercials, it's great for it. It's not really necessary, but it really makes a good quality video or film or whatever you want to call it nowadays. But
it seems like it's overkill.
Yeah,
it's overkill. Most even like the latest Century theaters down here, it's 2K.
Yeah.
So having 4K is, it's so much more resolution than you really need. However, that's where it's going.
Yeah.
So you might as well record in it if you can, because
it could be down converted.
It can always be down converted. You can use it to edit, right? You can have a 4K video and then digitally zoom in on, a section. If the final output was going to be, 1080.
Yeah.
You can kind of zoom in and kind of play around with it that way too.
You say it's overkill, and I understand where you're coming from, and that, some people might think that, but when it goes on a smaller screen and you compress it the right way on your exporting, like if after you're done editing, you're going to export it out to like the .mov or MP4 or whatever, it's going to just be a really crisp, nice, clean video. But then you got 4K. There's different cameras out there that are shooting 4K. You got the red camera, and then the Blackmagic cameras that are out there now are shooting 4K. So there are pretty reasonably priced 4K cameras out there. But I tell you what, I've worked with 4K. My business partner that we do the helicopter with, he has the Red Epic, and it is an amazing format to work with. Not all computers can handle it, though.
Yeah.
Not all computers will handle it. You got to make sure that you have a fast enough speed on your computer. So, but overall, it's a great format to work with. If you don't need it, don't work with it. If you're just going to be doing web videos and your client doesn't really request that, I would stick with 1080. It's just easier. It's faster. You have more storage. So
I know when I shoot stills, I have the D800 is a 36 megapixel camera.
That's
so
huge.
Massive files.
Yeah.
But absolutely gorgeous photos. The resolution you get out of that is just amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
However, I've had a lot of clients that are just like, what do I do with this file?
Yeah.
They don't even know what to do with it. It's so big that they want something that they can just instantly just kind of plug into whatever they need. And most likely, it's Facebook.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I take pictures with, a very nice camera, and I, do everything I can to make sure that the image quality is perfect. And yet it's downsized to 2,000 pixels wide because it's ultimately just going to end up on Facebook, and somebody's going to look at it on their iPhone.
Right.
It's just like this big. And so for me, 36 megapixels is overkill. Heck, 2 megapixels is overkill for a lot of the work that I do.
Yeah.
And I just have some clients that are just straight up, just send it to me in Facebook sites, because that's all they need. So
that's the world we're living in now.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, in working with, these files, each picture is somewhere around, it's over 200 megabytes.
Yeah. Each
picture. And just in processing that, if you're doing any sort of, work in Photoshop, it's very easy to get over, 1 gigabyte for one little picture, and then it ultimately just ends up to be a very small little thing on your iPhone.
Well, just like 4K, I don't want to interrupt, but just like 4K, even a couple minutes can be a gig. It's just, that's the reason why I say, hey, if you don't have the time to deal with that workflow, maybe not go with 4K. 1080, I shoot everything in 1080, just 90% of what I do is 1080. And it makes for a nice video. If you compress it out the right, or if you export it out the right way, it's going to look nice.
So how does that play into production time for you and results time for the client? Because sometimes people don't get how long these things take.
Yeah, yeah.
And even putting something on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
or I've heard people, aren't you just pushing a button? Why does it take so long? Maybe you can go and explain this,
yes.
Really like in one fell swoop for people that out there that might not understand the complexity and the rendering time. And it's not that we don't have great equipment. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the great equipment makes it even longer.
Yeah, when you
Is
have
that right?
yeah, when you have a bigger file, and you're definitely going to take more time editing, and it's going to cost you more. If as a client, if you're looking for someone 1080 versus 4K, it's going to cost you more because they have different equipment for the most part, and they're going to have more editing time for sure.
Yeah.
What's your take on something like that on your end as far as editing time?
It really doesn't matter too much. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if I go on a shoot and I'm shooting an event and say it's 4 hours long, mm-hmm. I figure roughly that the editing time is going to be 4 hours.
Yeah.
However, it takes a long time just to simply transfer the images from mm-hmm. the camera to the computer.
Yeah.
And in some cases, I just let it go overnight. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I come back in the morning, and that's when I actually do the editing of the photos.
Yeah.
There's some other things that I do to kind of get around that. If time is very important, I will just import those photos that I know that I need right then. Mm. So like when I go out and do stuff for Andrew. Mm. So we do, we're uploading stuff as it's happening. So I just need, 5 or 10 images of what's going on. So then I just import those, which saves a lot of time, and then I can just edit those and spit those back out. It doesn't take very long. So
I mean, sometimes when you're dealing with 4K, you might have two computers. One to go ahead and put everything in to get the files going, and so you can start your project. I just deal with one, and I always use iMac. I was on a MacBook Pro, which was adequate, even enough for the 4K. But there is a lot more time in editing. Putting it in the system, it's going to tie up your computer, so you can't get to another project. Editing is going to take time, and then exporting it out is going to take a little bit of time, depending on how big the project is. So there is a lot more time versus using 1080 or whatever other format, so.
Yeah, and then of course, in uploading it, sending that huge file to the client.
Yes, yeah.
That's an issue. What do you use to send your files to the client?
That's a good question, actually. That's a good topic. I was using Dropbox. I was using BoxNet. I am now using YouSendIt, which is now Hightail. So I don't really confuse everybody. Yeah. Hightail.com is actually pretty good. I've actually had 2 problems, but they're pretty resolvable. But yeah, I could send multiple files, big files. Mm-hmm. It's a great little format. You could send pictures, you could send video, you could send just files, any type of files.
I used YouSendIt many years ago.
Yeah.
Back when it was still called YouSendIt.
Right.
And but I think it was just like their entry-level plan, so I really couldn't do too much. Yeah. And then I've tried different services, kind of settled really on Dropbox. It seems to be what most people like. It's what most people are used to. It's very simple. It's very well integrated with the Mac. It's expensive.
Yeah, it is. I've noticed
it's like pretty much the most expensive way you can do all that. And there's lots of competing companies that are in that space. Dropbox seems to be the most expensive for the amount of space that you get, but
it's reliable for you.
It works, and unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. I'm under contract for another few months. I don't know what I'm going to do when the contract is up.
Try Hightail out. It's improved.
There's another one that I've been kind of playing around with called Get, GE.TT.
Never heard of them.
Yeah. Wow. They've been around for a while, but they give you a whole lot of space. Mm-hmm. Fairly easy to use, and the clients are okay with it. But, one thing I've noticed is that, the client, if they don't know how to get their photos, they're mad.
Yeah.
And so it has to be something that is very, very simple.
Very simple, yeah.
Very simple. I mean, even if I zip the files, to make it easier, that confuses them. Like, what do I do? This zip file doesn't open. So unfortunately, the easiest thing is Dropbox, because then they can just instantly just see it.
Mm-hmm.
They can download the pictures that they want, or they can download them all, and it makes it very simple and easy to use. Unfortunately, it is just I think a little bit on the expensive side anymore.
Well, one thing that I do too for my clients is I have a Vimeo account. It's a pro version. Mm-hmm. Vimeo, for those of you who don't know, it's YouTube on steroids. That's all I gotta say. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's very classy. It's a good professional site. You could send links to your clients to say, hey, look at the progress I'm making here. And they look at it, and then you go back and forth with the clients instead of sending files. For video, I think it works out. I don't know as far as pictures, if you could do that, if you do a slideshow or something, mm-hmm. I'm not sure. But it works out great for video. I mean, the client really likes that. They're able to just push play. All they have to do is open the link in the email, and they see it, and then you go back and forth. Instead of sending a file, they have to download, and, it just makes it a lot easier. So, but you always send in a lower resolution and just tell them, hey, look, it's low resolution because I want you to see it fast. Right. Because if you give them like a 4K resolution and you send it to them, it's going to take them a while. So.
Right.
So anyways, exactly. Just a little side note.
So we're almost out of time, but I had one last question for you. Mm-hmm. What is the one thing that you wish you knew when you started, that you kind of learned along the way? What was that one thing that would have really helped you when you were just a young little videographer?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. As a videographer, I started in the news business. I was always known for not holding my shots long enough. So there's always a kind of a rule with photojournalists in the news business: hold your shots for 10 seconds or longer for each shot. Mm-hmm. I was so anxious and just a young gun, and I was like just wanting to get in there and go, so I'd hold it for like 3 or 4 seconds. Mm-hmm. So when the footage got back to the editor, they'd just be like,
right.
So, so it took me a little bit to kind of get to, and I still do that every once in a while. I get kind of rushed to get, because I get excited, and I know it sounds kind of weird, just you want to get that next shot, or, you see something that's floating in the air or whatever, you want to grab that. Right. And so you got to kind of pace yourself, and that's one thing as a young buck I didn't really do. Mm-hmm. But I think I've kind of mastered that along the way. Mm-hmm. And I've had a lot of mentors too, kind of helping me out, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. Mm-hmm. So,
you have any equipment that you wish you had never bought?
No, there's equipment I wish I could buy.
There's always that.
But my wife says I can't have any more until the drone is paid for. No, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Wow. I did buy a Steadicam rig one time, and it sat in the closet and collected dust. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
We have another question?
Just in.
Oh yes, this is a monthly show. We will actually be doing this show the third Monday of every month at 4 p.m., whether there is a guest here or not. Of course, you're going to be like a permanent guest.
I hope so.
Breaking news.
Yes.
So I think my new office is going to be right over here on the corner. So
which one are you taking?
I believe that one, right?
Are you taking the storage closet? Nice.
It has a stove in there right now. I don't know if that's.
It has a stove, but you also have the air conditioner. So,
really?
Yeah, that's where the air conditioner controls are. So
I need it right now.
That's perfect.
But yeah, I mean, I can be your what's that guy? Johnny Carson show. What's the big guy that sits next to him back in the day? Remember?
Oh, Ed McMahon.
I could be Ed McMahon.
There you go. All right, yeah, I guess so.
Sorry.
That's a throwback. So yeah, so I'm here the third Monday of every month, about 4 p.m. Pacific time, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just inviting different photographers or videographers from around the Napa Valley area, and we just kind of gab about photography for a little bit, talk about gear, talk about equipment, talk about business and marketing and everything else. And every once in a while we talk about drones, a.k.a.
Action Chopper.
And if you want to see a little bit more about Adam's Action Chopper, you can go to
actionchopper.com.
Or you can actually go back and visit episode number 1 of the Catchlight show.
Yeah.
Where we talk a little bit more in depth, and you get to see both of them. Right? We had the big one. We had the big one and the little one here. So, So you can see them both.
I think what Bob's doing is amazing. I mean, he's a great photographer, but for him to have a show like this and kind of teach or talk through different issues is going to be cool. It might be a little rusty a little bit rough at first because, I mean, hey, you're not.
This is not my day job.
I know it's not your day job, but you're doing fine, and this is great. I like that dialogue, and for other people to hear that dialogue, I think it's great because there might be someone out there that's like, hey, that helped me out. So.
Yeah, well,
I love education. That's one thing I really love about the business is education.
Yeah, it is, and I certainly appreciate, and I certainly watch a lot of educational videos whenever I need to learn about something new. If a client comes to me and says, "Hey, do you ever shoot underwater action photos?" Yes, absolutely. I do that all the time. It's one of my specialties. Never done it before in my life, but I'll go online and I'll find a YouTube video or something like that where they talk about it, and I'll instantly become professional at it before I go out and shoot it. And anyway, that's what I do. But anyway, so education I think is very important. And yeah, if anybody out there in YouTube land or ToutSuite land wants to have any questions answered, please, you can email ToutSuite, Twitter ToutSuite, and I'll try to make up an answer for you. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming along.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
And that's it for episode number 3 of the Catchlight Show. Ching ching. My glass is empty.
Mine's full.
That's not fair.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
We're out.